Welcome to Culture Screen, where we analyze culture. In this episode, we are summarizing the third episode from Season 1 of The Wire, titled The Buys. It first aired on June 16th, 2002. In the beginning, D'Angelo, Bodie, Pooh, and Wallace debate the need for violence in the drug trade back at the pit. D'Angelo advises his junior dealers to show greater respect to the addicts since they are the customers after all. As Detectives McNulty and Greggs snap surveillance photos of Bubbles identifying each of the Barksdale men by placing a red hat on each of them, Lieutenant Daniels is meeting with Deputy Commissioner Burrell, Commander Reed, and Southeastern District Commander Valchek to explain his three officers' prior actions. Detective Presbalewski should be demoted to clerical labor, according to Daniels. Presbalewski's father-in-law, Valchek, is adamant that this is an admission of guilt. It is agreed that Presbalewski should stay on clerical duty until he is acquitted by a grand jury. After Reed and Forrester's leave, Burrell discloses that Valchek will provide the Barksdale detail with 2 cop cars and a surveillance van in exchange for Daniels helping out with the Presbalewski situation. At a police press conference, Major Rawls, Sergeant Landsman, and Detective Moreland speak. Rawls and Moreland both state that they are looking into Gant's involvement in a physical confrontation. They speak about Gant being involved in a physical altercation because a Sun reporter named William Zorzi asks if Gant was slain because he was a state's witness. The law enforcement officials choose to make up a fight as a way of dissuading the press from running the fact that Gant was murdered in fact for informing on D'Angelo at the start of the series. Later on, Detective McNulty tasks Detectives Polk and Mahone with requesting a photo of Avon Barksdale. He tells them they should search the housing department records. D'Angelo notices Bodie and Wallace are playing checkers on a chessboard as they are waiting for a shipment of drugs. D'Angelo teaches them chess. He uses the Barksdale's crew members to represent each of the pieces on the board game. Avon is king, Stringer is the queen, the drugs and money are the rooks, and the soldiers are the pawns. Bodie quickly learns that a pawn can be promoted. He makes a comparison to himself. D'Angelo is doubtful of this and points out that pawns are rapidly killed off in the game. Bodie believes that a clever pawn can succeed regardless of the odds being stacked against him. Daniels arrives at the details office that night and notifies the crew that Prez has been assigned to in-office duty exclusively and that Detective Hawk has been placed on medical leave. The 2 senior detectives in the crew, Polk and Mahone, return with a photograph of a middle-aged white man named Avon Barksdale. After 2 weeks of investigation, Greggs laments how little the 2 experienced BPD detectives know about Barksdale. When Detective Freeman overhears Greggs indicate that Barksdale competed in Golden Gloves, he goes to the Golden Gloves Center in his neighborhood to ask around about Avon's boxing past. McNulty and Greggs go to Special Agent Fitzhugh the next day to ask for cordless microphones they can have on their bodies. Fitz offers to discuss the request with his squad supervisor, but when he learns that Daniels is the detail's commanding officer, he reacts rather strangely. Back at the pit, Bodie leads drug users to testers, which are free vials of a new batch intended to encourage purchase. Omar Little, Brandon White, and John Bailey are tasked with keeping an eye on the activity in the pit and locating the stash house. McNulty, Bubbles, and Greggs are gathered back at their office where they sit around and discuss their relationships. McNulty comes clean about cheating on his wife Elena, and now he feels Elena hates him and wants to hurt him. Remember, I am summarizing the entire series, so subscribe and click on the notification bell so you are reminded when I upload the next episode. I will be reviewing other TV shows and movies in the future as well, so let me know what they are so I can summarize them in the future. We see Stringer Bell is impressed by the pit's profit rise under D'Angelo's supervision. D'Angelo believes that once the next cargo of drugs arrives, the operation will become more profitable. Stringer exposes that the restock of drugs has just been rebranded to enhance profit. He goes on to say that if they sell low-strength or low-quality drugs, the addicts will simply be pushed into buying more drugs just to keep their addiction going. D'Angelo strikes up a chat with Chardine as he walks away. Despite the fact that she has no recollection of their first meeting, we see she is attracted to D'Angelo nonetheless. Freeman makes a comeback with a poster portraying a young Avon Barksdale. Detective Sydnor shows up dressed as a heroin addict, but Bubbles gives him some pointers on how to be more believable. The next day, Sydnor and Bubbles go to the pit to buy narcotics as Greggs shoots surveillance photos. Sydnor notes that the leaders don't have any narcotics or cash on them ever. We also see Omar and his crew keeping an eye on the pit as well. Greggs and McNulty review how their plan of conducting hand-to-hand arrests worked out back at the detail office. According to Daniels, commanding cops insisted on capturing low-level drug dealers on Wednesday. McNulty storms out of the office, enraged that the case is being steered in the wrong direction and away from Avon Barksdale himself. McNulty goes to the ASA, Rhonda Perlman's house, to ask about what he would need to do to get a clone on a beeper. To secure a signed affidavit from a court, Perlman discloses that he would require probable cause and to prove that he tried many other investigation tactics. Rhonda says to McNulty that their relationship is not as romantic as it was when he was married. We see D'Angelo walk away from the pit to buy food. D'Angelo leaves Bodie to serve as a lookout while the crew accepts the new shipment. Stinkum arrives to protect the package. Omar Little shows up and his crew overpowers the pit crew immediately. Bodie and Pooh are pushed into the stash house by Omar. Omar tells Sterling, the teenage dealer, to tell him where the money is hidden. Omar shoots Sterling in the kneecap after he refuses. Omar quickly shifts his focus to another dealer who immediately confesses that the money is hidden under the kitchen sink. Brandon takes the money and unintentionally calls out Omar's name, and the dealers immediately know his identity. When D'Angelo reappears, Omar and his crew run off in their van. Daniels prepares his crew to raid the McCullough homes the next day to confiscate the incoming drug supply. McNulty refuses to cooperate in the investigation because he believes it will jeopardize their case. Daniels is angered by his disobedience. Despite being on medical leave, Herc persists on helping his crew with the case. D'Angelo is chastised by Wee-Bey for walking away from the pit as the shipment arrived. The detail is dispatched again to conduct additional arrests on low-level drug dealers. However, this time, the dealer's stash home has been changed. This causes the detail to find little to no evidence. After being antagonized, Bodie hits Detective Mahone in the face. Within seconds, Detective Carver and Detective Greggs attack Bodie for striking Mahone. Fitzhugh tells McNulty later that night in a parking lot that the FBI had previously probed Daniels for integrity concerns. The FBI had identified hundreds of thousands of dollars of unaccounted for assets, and they sent it to Burrell so he would investigate the matter further, and that Burrell instead chose not to conduct any further investigations into the money or its source. That was episode number 3, titled The Buys. To watch the next or previous episode summary, click on the link in the description or at the end of this video. If you can, support us on Patreon. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram. I'll see you on the next one. Goodbye.
Pawns, man, in the game, they get capped quick.
We upload new videos every week, so subscribe to our channel. Don't forget to hit the like button as well. Click the notification bell to be notified of when we upload these videos. See you on the next episode of Culture Screen.